The teacher must prepare or plan before going to class to teach. In the process of planning, the teacher must include both formal and informal assessments that will be used to assess the learners. It is against this background that the head of department in a school must guide teachers through this planning process. In this video, I will discuss the teacher assessment plan or program as one of the documents that must be in the teacher's file and the HOD master file. My name is Gezani Sikuni. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Like or comment on this video because your feedback is very important to me. Click on the subscribe button so that you get a notification when I release the next video. Let's dive into the video to see what I have for you today. The Teacher Assessment Program is a document that outlines the different aspects that the teacher is going to use to assess the learners. These aspects may include the subject, the grade, the content covered, the number of tasks, as well as the marks in those formal assessments. I think I must state up front that the development of the teacher assessment plan or teacher assessment program should not be done in isolation, but this exercise must be executed in consultation with the relevant circulars and policies from the Department of Education. In this case, the subject policy document must be read in conjunction with the subject ATP and the National Assessment Circular. Let's take a look at my proposed template of the teacher assessment program or teacher assessment plan that the HOD can keep in the master file. Let us now take this time to look at the proposed template of the teacher assessment program or teacher assessment plan that I made reference to earlier. Right in front of you now on the screen, we are having this template of the teacher assessment program. Okay, so when we look at it, it is designed in such a way that on top you have the headers or the topics of the columns, right? The first column is the one that speaks to the term. So you would know that an assessment program of the teacher is supposed to cover 3 or 4 terms of the year. All right. So here we are having those terms having been covered here. Okay, that's the first one. Okay, and I must mention that this example speaks to the mathematics subject. Okay, so this is the example of a teacher assessment program for mathematics as a subject. All right, you will indicate the grade right there. Okay, like I've already indicated the issue of the first column as being that for the term, right? Moving right along, when you move towards the right, that is wherein you begin to see some other aspects that are covered in the teacher assessment program. Okay, the next one is the one that speaks to the date of assessment. As you would know that all assessments must be subjected to a specific day on which they will be written. So this particular column per term is going to indicate the date on which that particular formal assessment is going to be written. Then as you move right along to the right, now we're going to have the provision for the task number. You would know that each and every subject, based on the subject policy document, it indicates the number of tasks that you have in that particular subject. So in this case, you would have a certain number of tasks per term. So in this particular example, I'll give an example with maths. The number of tasks in terms of term 2, here we're going to have 2 of them. Okay, yeah. So here you're going to indicate the number of tasks per term in that particular subject that you have developed or you are developing the teacher assessment program for. All right, so that is the next column. As we move towards the right, this is going to be now you being expected to give an indication of the forms of assessment that you're going to use to assess the learners in that particular term. All right, like for For instance, in this particular exercise, we might say, all right, learners are going to sit for an assignment or a project or a formal task. But in this case, we're going to say, okay, in term 2, we are having assignment as well as the test. Okay, so that is what we're going to put as an example of the formal assessments that will be written in the term. All right, so depending on the subject, we are going to find a situation whereby the number of tasks per term are different. They are not the same. Some of the subjects might be having more than 2 number of assessments that must be administered, like in the case of languages. Okay, they have more formal assessments that must be administered as compared to other subjects. All right. Then moving right along, when we get to the right again, now we are having the portion that gives reference to the content area covered. Okay, so in this particular space, this is wherein the teacher is going to indicate the topics or the areas that are going to be covered by the or in the formal assessments that will be administered here. So if you will have mentioned an assignment, so here you're going to give an indication of the content that are going to be covered in that particular assignment, or if it's a test or whatever it may be, this is the content of what makes that particular formal assessment. So this is the area wherein you are going to have a short description of what the formal task will be made up of. Okay, you are definitely going to get the content of the areas that are going to make the formal task from your ATP. Okay, the subject ATP, as I've indicated earlier on, that when you develop the teacher assessment plan, it is very important that you also do that in conjunction with the subject ATP, so that you go there and look at the topics that are supposed to be taught in that particular term. And that is wherein you are going to find the topics or the content areas that will be covered by the formal task that you would have chosen here. Okay, so that is what it means. Okay, as we move along to the right, we are having the last column. This column speaks to the marks. Okay, when you remember, you know that each and every assessment task or formal task is weighted in terms of the marks. Okay, so depending on what the policy says, because we are always being guided by policy, go and check as to what are the marks that have been allocated for this formal task that learners are going to be subjected to. Okay, so sometimes you might come with marks that are more than what is in the policy, but they must be converted to a percentage of some kind, which goes back to what is indicated in the policy. So this is wherein you are going to put the marks as allocated to the formal task that learners will be subjected to. So this is a proposed kind of a template that we can make use of when we develop the teacher assessment plan or teacher assessment document. Okay, so we're also gonna make sure that after this particular document has been developed, so it is important that learners must have those copies of the teacher assessment program in their books, and they paste them there. Okay, so we're going to look at what are the other documents that, as and when we are developing our teacher assessment program, we should consult. Not only the subject policy document must be consulted, there are other documents that can be consulted just to verify that the information or the content that we've covered is the correct content. On your screen now is the ATP, the Annual Teaching Plan for Mathematics Grade 5. As you can see, this is what I was making reference to when I indicated that as and when the teacher develops his or her teacher assessment program, that should be done in consultation with the relevant documents that are there to guide the teacher. All right, this is the ATP. You can see that you've got time allocation in per topic in the term. Okay, so for instance, here you are having the topic, as you can see, concepts and skills. All right, right. It makes reference to the type of formal assessments that must be administered. Here, as you can see, we are having the investigation, okay, which is allocated 3 hours. As you move towards the right, you are having the topics and the number of hours that have been allocated to those topics. So these are the topics that I've made mention of, that when you are to speak about or indicate the content covered, these are the elements that you're going to include in that particular column. All right. Then when you move towards the right, you can also see that you have the assessment task, and then the second assessment task in term 2 in grade 5 maths. As you can see, it is the test. Okay. The first one we have the assignment, then the second one we have the test, and it also proposes the time at which these formal assessments can be administered. Okay, except for the ATP, there are also other documents that the teacher should consult as and when the teacher assessment program is developed. Okay, so let's look at the next one, which the teacher can also consult. Okay, here now on your screen you are having the National Assessment Circular number 1 of 2023. Okay, the annexure that speaks to the assessments. Okay, so if we are to zoom into mathematics here, grade 5, you can see that these are the number of tasks. Okay, then you are also having the term here. This is term 2. All right, what are we having? We are having the investigation as task number 3, and then task number 4 is the June controlled test. Okay, the school-based test. So these are the number of tasks that we have in mathematics in term 2. All right, I also made mention of the marks when I was talking about the template of the teacher assessment program. This is where we're going to have an indication of how many marks must we allocate to that formal task. Okay, the assessment circular assists us in terms of that, what we need to indicate, and the weighting is also indicated here. So that is what I meant when I said that the development of the teacher assessment program must not be done in isolation, but that should happen in consultation with other relevant policies and circulars in education. Okay, just to add on what I've just indicated in terms of other documents to be consulted. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. The next one, as you can see, this is section 4 of the policy document of mathematics. All right, so again, you can see it indicates the type forms of assessments. Remember, in our template of the teacher assessment program, we needed to indicate forms of assessments. So in order to find those, we can go to the subject policy document section 4, which is about assessment. You have different forms of assessments, and then the term is indicated there, and the number of tasks have also been indicated. All right, so these are the documents that must be consulted when such kind of important documents are developed, so that there is no deviation from the policy when such documents are developed, because adherence to policy is a very critical thing that we should practice at all times. So as I've indicated that upon the completion of the development of this particular teacher assessment plan, the HOD is going to have a copy of that, and the teacher will take another copy to his or her teacher's file. And then it is also advised that the learners must keep copies of the assessment program in their books, so that they know when are they going to be assessed. So remember, I've also indicated that this document can be developed in such a way that you have it per term, or you can develop it towards the end or at the end of an academic year in preparation for the next academic year, whereby you will have covered all the terms. Okay, you can do it termly basis or on annual basis. At the end of the year, you prepare all the terms being covered. So that is what I had for you today in terms of the teacher assessment program. Remember, you are advised to like or comment on this video, and also subscribe so that whenever I release new videos, you can get notification. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.